Hey guys, it's Karl. Welcome back to the first Apple event, or the first Apple products of 2022. The event came and went. Products are into the studio. You can see we have the brand new iPad Air. This is technically the 5th gen. We have the green iPhone. We have the Mac Studio and Studio Display all coming. So make sure you're subbed. I don't know why I'm pointing to this way because no other video is out, as this is the first one. It's the new unboxing of the iPad Air, and you can see this is in the new colorway, the blue. This is the one that I wanted to check out, and from the initial box design, you can actually see it's very similar to the 4th gen iPad Air box. We just have a slightly different wallpaper, and that kind of is the theme overall with the 5th gen. It has very similar specs. It has the exact same actually form factor and design. Most of the changes are coming internally. The main thing is we now have the M1 chip, which we actually have in the iPad Pro, which is behind me, coming to the iPad Air, which makes this a powerhouse, which kind of makes the iPad Pro maybe somewhat obsolete. There's still some differentiating features, which I'll get to, but now this should be one of the most powerful iPads. And I even mentioned last year, the iPad Air from 2021 was still the best iPad to get. And now with the new M1 chip, it should still be the best iPad to currently get until we see the iPad Pro get an update. But let's get into the box and first off, see what this new blue looks like. So very typical unboxing experience as you would get with Apple, the iPad on top. Let's stick that off to the side. We've got designed by California in Apple. If you're new to the channel, you know that's a ongoing joke. Inside of there, we have all the user manuals, warranty info, white Apple stickers, unfortunately no blue ones, and in the box, thankfully, we still get a charging brick. This is a 20-watt charger, and thankfully it's not following the same route as the iPhone and still has one in the box. Let's get to the iPad Air, and it is wrapped in, it's not technically new, but a biodegradable or environmentally friendly sort of plastic wrap. And I will say, kind of off the bat, this is the best iPad color, maybe even the best Apple color that I've seen, especially this blue. So I'm gonna kind of compare it to the Sierra Blue iPhone 13 Pro Max. You can see it's a lot deeper, it's a lot more saturated, and maybe that's the one little color irk that I had with the previous gen iPad. So I've got the green one here. I felt that they were a bit too muted, almost a bit pastel-y, even though it is a metallic finish. This blue, I think this is the one to get. Obviously, there's the standard colors, the space gray, starlight pink, which is their rose gold, purple, which looks also really good, but this blue, if you're on the fence, if you want a bit of color in your life, and I think in general, this would be my choice, and I wish this actually was the iPhone colorway. I think this is gorgeous, the best looking blue, slightly biased, as I do think blue is a nice color. Obviously, I wish there was an orange, but damn Apple, I think you knocked it out of the park with this. So let's get it set up. The best part, you can always just take an older iPad. It's running iOS 15, or I guess iPadOS 15.4. And as this kind of sets up, we'll go through the spec options. So the first and most maybe important thing, if you don't rock this with a case, is the color choice. Let me know which color you guys like. Remember, the blue one is my fave. And the storage size options, we only have 2 this year, starting off at either 64 gigs or 256. Then you have the option of either Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi plus cellular. I do wish the starting size option was 128 gigs, especially with the way Apple is pushing the iPad Air, especially with that M1 chip. They say that you can run the most graphic intensive games. You can do photo, video editing if you want. All that, obviously, takes storage, and starting off at either 64 gigs or 256, and then you have the option of Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi plus cellular. And I do wish we had a 128 gig option as the base storage, especially the way Apple is advertising the new Air with that M1 chip. We know that it's a powerhouse. It can tackle the most graphic intensive games. You can even edit 4K video if you want. All of that takes space. And I think if you go for the 64 gig option and you do use that a lot, and this tablet will probably last you 5, 6, maybe even 7 years, you will probably run out. On the flip side though, at least the starting price is still $599 US or 749 Canadian, so that's always nice. But then if you want to add on extra accessories like the Apple Pencil, like some of the cases, which we'll get to, that will just increase the overall price. And I am a bit surprised that Apple was still able to maintain that $599 price point, especially with that M1 chip, and I think they did save a lot on keeping the same chassis, keeping the same design. I mean, even the display is the same, doesn't need to be changed. 10.9-inch liquid retina, it looks great, and one thing that they have updated is the front-facing camera. The 12-megapixel ultra-wide that supports center stage, so if you do use your iPad a lot for things like Zoom calls or just your standard FaceTime, it's nice as you can kind of frame yourself wherever you are, and you can get multiple people in frame if you do multi-person FaceTimes. So with this new M1 Silicon, so the same one in the iPad Pro, Mac Mini, MacBook Air, I believe, and even the 13-inch MacBook Pro, it's obviously a powerhouse, and I still think is slightly overkill for iPadOS. To me, there isn't enough in iPadOS to justify this kind of performance. And I mean that in the nicest way. No matter what you do, you are still limited with iPadOS, and if you truly want to be really productive, macOS is still better. There's still so many ways that you can implement this, so many creative ways that you can use this to its utmost potential, but I think that true flexibility comes with an actual dedicated operating system. And reviewing the Tab S8 or Tab S8 Ultra, having DeX mode, that's just something nice in the Samsung ecosystem that I wish iPads could get to. I'm trying to think of a way that they could implement that. Maybe if you can mount that to one of their smart keyboards, they would have a bit more customization, a bit more utility with iPadOS, but still a very capable tablet. The new M1 iPad Air, or the 5th gen compared to the last gen iPad Air 4, gets you 60% better CPU performance, 2 times better graphics performance. And for the rest of the device, it's pretty much the same iPad Air that you've grown to love. So we still have Touch ID at the top, the 112-megapixel camera on the back. We do have a dual speaker setup, and once again, coming from the Tab S8 Ultra, which has a quad speaker setup, this definitely sounds better. I wouldn't say that the performance on the iPad Air is bad, but I would still give the little one up to the Samsung device. And in terms of accessories, once again, at least on the Samsung device, it comes with the S Pen inside of the box. You don't have to buy that extra. Unfortunately, with Apple, you have to pay that extra Apple tax, so you do need to grab the Apple Pencil 2nd gen if you want to use it. That's an extra $129. I've got the Smart Folio, or my personal favorite. I know this is an expensive one. This is the Magic Keyboard, so we'll quickly get this out. And this entire combo here gives you a pretty capable device, almost on par with, say, a MacBook Air, which I'd still personally take, but I know some people love the S Pen. I know some people love the iPad performance and the iPad ecosystem. So if that fits into your workflow, if you have those specific apps that you use that you can get by with, totally, it's great. There are still a couple things that I wish the iPad Air had, but I guess they couldn't cannibalize the iPad Pro. So for example, on the back, we don't have a LiDAR sensor, so if you're doing any augmented reality stuff, there is no ProMotion. The display is still stuck to 60 Hertz, so if you want the juiciness and quick scrolling of the 120 Hertz, you've got to go over to the iPad Pro. I'll continue to use this more as my main device, and if you guys want a comparison against the rest of the iPad line, let me know and I can create something pretty quick. But from my initial testing, I think Apple crushed it with the new iPad Air. The inclusion of the M1 chip just makes it so much more compelling to get than any other iPad. I think it's the perfect size. I think that it's way cheaper than the iPad Pro. I don't think it actually is. And Apple, you crushed it with this new blue colorway. Hope you guys enjoyed this very quick unboxing and first look at the iPad Air. Remember, green iPhone 13 and 13 Pro. That's the Alpine green, as well as Mac Studio. That video is actually dropping tomorrow. Make sure you're subbed to the channel, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace!